What's up, everybody? This is John with Archer Fish. Thank you so much for watching. Before I go forward, please subscribe. It does mean a lot. Turn on your notifications, like, comment, all that good stuff. It really does help keep the channel going, and I love doing this. So if you enjoy the content, please do those things. Share the video, all that stuff. So what we got for you today is my top 3 baits for summer fishing at Castaic. It works pretty much everywhere in Southern California, but this is specifically what I use at Castaic, okay? My top 3, number 3 for Castaic, the bait that I use is gonna be your Castmaster. Now, I typically don't use one this big until the fall, until the vertical jigging starts to come into play. Usually a 1/4 ounce or 1/8 ounce even, I tend to use. But the silver and blue is the color. And what I do is, you see when the bass start to boil, and this can happen as early as June. If there's a little June gloom like there has been the past few days, or if you got a cloudy day or whatever, they can start schooling up pretty good and going after shad pretty good this time of year. Is just, throw this into the school, use it like a jerk bait. I like to whip it through really quick and then let it drop. Some guys will let it drop on the bottom, pull it up, let it drop, because it has that nice, it goes up and down real, it's got that nice retrieve. So I just like to whip it through. And then as they start to school up tighter and in more numbers, through the course of the year and into the fall, you can just toss that right into boils, let it sink down to the bottom, whatever you want to do. The Castmaster, very, very, very effective. Some guys swear by this, and I understand why. It's very good bait. My number 2 bait at Castaic for the summertime is going to be, are you ready for this? Top water. Now, these are just 2 examples of what I use. These are Lucky Craft gunfish. And this is a small one, the 95. I have yet to use this one, but I wanted to give a smaller one a try. This is the 117 version, a little bit bigger. Top water is my favorite way to catch bass. It is incredible. It's so much fun. It's exciting. And when they're going off in big schools, whether it's the largemouth or the striped bass, this is the ticket. Now, I use other top waters. I've caught them on pretty much everything. The IMA skimmer, also known as the IMA skimmer. I found one on the lake one day, and I started using it to catch striper, and it was immediately effective. So I keep a couple of skimmers in my tackle box at all times. It casts really well, it's heavy, and it's got a nice swim as you pop it across the surface. Jim introduced me to these. These are fantastic. What I liked about these, and I've kind of switched over to these most of the time. If this isn't getting bit, then I'll switch to the skimmer. But this is also very, very effective. And I think it's the tail. That's what Jim says, the little feathered end, and I tend to agree with him. It seems to get bit more when they're being a little bit more finicky. I also use poppers. I use the chug bugs. I've gotten bit on those as well. And when the striper are boiling, you could pretty much throw any top water. I've seen guys throw everything and anything on top of those boils and get bit. So this is mainly for bass. So that's it, man. My number 2 is top water, and I throw everything. I've been throwing buzz baits, and I've been throwing whopper ploppers and things like that, other surface baits. I just have no luck. I mean, I've gotten bit on frogs and whopper ploppers, but I've yet to catch a fish on one. So I'm just I still throw them, but I'm just a little hesitant on those big noisy baits. Just haven't worked for me yet. I know other guys swear by them, and I know people catch fish on them all the time, so I am not the expert, but I just prefer these types of baits. Maybe it's the saltwater fisherman in me where, you could just, a Zara Spook, that's another one that I like to throw. It just has great action on the surface. So top water is my number 2. All right, number 3 was the Castmaster. My number 1 way to catch fish in the summertime, specifically at Castaic, is, you ready for this? Number 1, here it is. It is the Fluke. The Zoom Super Fluke is one of the best baits, and it is one of my favorite baits. The color doesn't really matter. These are the Super Flukes, which I tend to like more. It just has a thicker body, so you can put the hook in a little bit easier, and then it swims. It's got a very nice motion on the surface if you pop it across. One of the reasons why this is my favorite is because you can use it in so many different ways. It's very versatile. And how I like to use it is just put a big hook in there and pop it across the surface and almost use it as a surface lure. The reason this is so effective is because in summer and then going into fall, the bass start keying in on shad, silver sides, and fry, and other little baits that are on the surface. So this thing looks just like them. The colors to me don't really matter. I just try to go with the sort of lighter ones. We got lightning shad, white pearl's a favorite, and then bait fish. There's another one called rainbow something that I like. They were just out of it. And I mean, I've caught them on this every single year. And when they're schooling up, these are insanely effective because they mimic the shad very well. When I'm throwing the fluke, I will look for bass busting. And a couple times, I think it was last year, I see bass busting on the really tight on the shore, and what they're doing is pushing shad onto the shore. And then when the shad tumble down, the bass are waiting to pick them off. Now, if I threw the fluke into that school, they wouldn't bite it. You know, it's clear water, the bass are smart, they're so keyed in on the shad, and usually specific individual shad, that this is not gonna get them. But what I would do, since they're pushing them onto shore, is I would throw the fluke onto shore about 6 inches and just very slowly pop it into the water. And as soon as it hits the water, they're eyeballing it, their vision's a little off because it's, you know, outside of the water, and they would just hit it every single time. Very, very effective way to catch these schooling bass if you're throwing this into the schools and they're not biting it. You can also put a little weight on here, throw it to the bottom and just kind of pop it up. You could put a swim jig head on here and cast it really far against the shore and kind of use it like a jerk bait. I would do that. Or if there's a big school and they're not biting, I would just throw it in the middle of the school, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and just let it sit there almost dead sticking it. And I caught some really good fish like that. So my #1 way of catching fish at Castaic in the summertime, the fluke. Now, that's also considering I've always got a Senko in the boat. Always, always, always have a Senko, and I'll throw them forever until they're not effective. And it can be tough to catch bass at Castaic in the summertime on the Senko if they're done with them. So that's when you got to switch to these other techniques. You got to switch to the top water, you got to switch to the fluke, and you got to start throwing the Castmaster, and you will catch more bass. That is it. That is my top 3 summer bass techniques. Thank you so much for watching. I got a couple of links to some of the videos that corroborate all this, so I really appreciate it. Please subscribe, like, turn on the notifications, share the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.